Welcome back. The 5 Nigerian boys who were rescued from the den of traffickers in Ghana have arrived in Nigeria and have reunited with their families in Nigeria. They are currently in New Central's building. You will recall that 2 teenage boys, Daniel and Zil, who had been lured to Ghana in a guise of job opportunities but ended up with traffickers who had deployed them to work in internet fraud activities, had sent out an SOS that got to New Central. Acting on the information from their family and following in-depth investigation, New Central had teamed up with the Ghanaian police service to successfully rescue them and 3 other Nigerian teenagers and a Ghanaian on Monday, 28 October. The police also arrested 2 suspects who are helping with further investigations. The rescued Nigerian boys are on their way home now to Nigeria, and now that they're in Nigeria, I beg your pardon, the rescued boys are looking forward to indeed meet with their family. But to continue the discussion, I'm joined by Marshal Ononye. Marshal did join us earlier on Breakfast Central. Marshal, thanks again for being here. And once again, great job, well done. We need to say that, well done. First off, tell us, how strenuous was it for you in the past weeks, especially having gotten the story? And one of the major questions everyone is asking, even on the social media space, simply is, what was the process that led to rescuing these boys? So how did it start off first? Did it start off from you getting the message? How did you act on it and so on? Please go ahead and tell us.
Thank you very much, Joe. It started with a message from one of them who had a laptop at his disposal that was given to him to use to intercept or to carry out his function as, one of the persons that was supposed to be like a fraudster. Eventually, when he had that access, he was able to send an internal message on social media, on Instagram. And then when we got that, we were able to coach him to say these are things we needed from him so we could get his location. Remember that these boys didn't even know where they were. They weren't even allowed to come out of the room where they were kept. So they couldn't describe the house. They couldn't describe the street. They didn't know the location. So, but we had to coach them on how to, get the coordinates and that coordinates was what really started it all. With that coordinate, we were able to then advance our own tracking. And then we contacted the Ghanaian police and they told us to come down. And when we got there, we showed them the data we had and they were impressed as well. And like I said in the report, they didn't spare anything. They jumped right into, getting to the operation. They put up a team together, about 20 men, and we had 2 vehicles, swung to action. And we got to the location, found out the place was under lock and key from the outside and the inside. They had locked these boys in. The room was locked. The entire building was locked, and then the gates too were locked from the outside. You had shrubs and grasses growing all around the compound. Eventually, we gained access and found the boys there. It was strenuous, yes. The entire thing was strenuous, getting them out. But then we weren't focusing on this, on the strenuousness. We were focused on the victory that we're overwhelmed by the victory, I'd say.
No doubt. I think the results are very, very positive. Could you also let us into what interpolicing, especially with Ghana and Nigeria, can actually portend, especially what it means for Africa as a whole? Because we've seen the partnership between Nigeria here, of course, from New Central, and the Ghanaian police service, where the work in tandem has yielded good results like these. What would you say about future collaborations and working with the likes of the Interpol and the likes to ensure that these things can be curbed?
Well, it's necessary for us to have these kind of collaborations, but I must say that it was disheartening to find out that these parents had, before reaching us, they had cried out to the police station within their area and they were turned out. They were turned away, and when we came into it and they told me that they had reached out to the police station, I insisted again. I said, look, do a petition properly, because they just went there and probably to the police, they appeared to have been constituting nuisance, maybe crying and not following the proper chain. So I said to them, do a petition. I helped them, I sampled a petition to them, and then they brought a petition and took it up as well, and they were still turned away. Eventually I put a call to the state CID, and I had that same petition submitted at the state CID, and then it was submitted. We had an acknowledged copy, and then we went with that same acknowledged copy to Ghana, just in case it was asked if the report was made, we would have something on ground. So talking about collaboration, but then again, the Ghana police didn't need any of that. They just wanted to save life. They just wanted to swing to action to get these boys out and reunited with their families. It was an overwhelming feeling for me. It was really exciting to see that they could listen to us despite the fact that we had come from another country. They didn't want to put up any form of bureaucracy for us to, they didn't ask so much questions. What they wanted to know was, are these boys really in our territory? Are these boys going through what we said they were going through? Do we have the information to locate them? And that was all they needed, and they swung into action.
Let me take one more question on this. Has there been any lead or any confirmation of ensuring that this racketeering or this gang have been apprehended?
It's a huge business, this racketeering thing, and I now know what is called HK, Hustle Kingdom. As a matter of fact, when I was leaving Nigeria to Ghana for this operation, I didn't know Hustle Kingdom, but I heard from my cameraman at the time that Hustle Kingdom was already existing in Nigeria, and they had busted some of these hustle kingdoms in Delta State, some in Lagos. They had pockets of them here and there. And then I got to Ghana and I found out that they had a lot of these kind of, circuit operations going on in Ghana. Some of them are meant to promote prostitutes. They bring these girls with promises of jobs from the interiors of Nigeria, and then when they get there, they tell them the jobs are no longer available. But then the girls are already stuck. They have to pay their madam or whoever sponsored them to get to that country. So they'll be subjected to prostitution. So were these boys too. They bring them over, and eventually they find out that no jobs, and then they tell them you have to pay. So for you to pay, these are the things you need to do. And then they begin to coach them. So yeah, it is interesting to know that we have these kind of things across just our West African borders here. And I'd encourage that New Central did all this on our own. There are other organizations that can take this up. The Nigerian police can take this up. I know that NITCOM is doing so much already, Foreign Affairs. We can really continue to see that we bring an end to this racketeering and human trafficking. There's no saying much, that you've done much on this. We just have to go on. And I'm sure that New Central will be looking to do more of these kind of rescue operations in the near future.
Thank you so much, Marshal Ononye, our very own special investigative reporter who has followed this story thoroughly. And congratulations on the results that it's yielded. Thank you once again.